Welcome, viewers! Today I want to talk about getting your first endocrinologist as a baby trans person who is thinking about getting on HRT. First of all, if you're thinking about it, talk to a therapist first. Work out any issues you might have. This is a really huge step, and no one should take this lightly. It will radically change your body in ways that are potentially irreversible, and it's best that you know for sure, without any shadow of a doubt, that this is the road you want to go down before you go down it. Work it out with your therapist. Make sure you're all on the same page. Make sure this is the right thing for you. That's a decision only you can make. But it's in critical importance to make sure you've talked out all of the possibilities, all of the issues, all of the potential gotchas before taking that step. It's important to get an endocrinologist who is experienced in working with trans people, who has experience testing hormones and knows what the correct levels are, which is not always the same. Not everybody has to have the same levels to be perfectly right for them, which is a little bit of guesswork, but you can start off in a way that usually works out well. You start off slowly and work your way up. Obviously, you're going to be pre-op, I would think, in this condition and still be making your own hormones, so that will make some changes. To find my first endocrinologist, I was referred by my therapist who specialized in gender, and that sent me to somebody who was an ally for the community, a gay man who sadly is no longer with us. You should also do homework beforehand, so you know the difference between taking injectables, between taking pills sublingually, not just downing them, but taking them sublingually so it avoids the liver. A lot of doctors don't even know to tell you that. And versus the injectables, which will live in your liver for some time, say a week or two, and then you can get another shot. Some doctors will also put trans women on spironolactone, which is a salt agonist and diuretic, which also preserves potassium. So you'll be need to check for those levels if you do take spironolactone. However, my personal experience is that's a bad idea. See my link to my video about spironolactone. My first doctor was in some ways not the most educated as to trans therapy, because I was asking him if he was going to check my hormone levels, and he said, oh, well, there's no way to check your hormone levels because women's hormone levels vary so wildly throughout the day that it wouldn't really make a difference, which never sounded right to me. And my doctor since then have been checking my levels, and it's been a good thing. So that would be, the problem is you can only really check for estrogen, and you can measure progesterone, but there's not enough data about progesterone to know what right levels are. Talking to my current doctor, I was like, well, is this one of those things where we just don't have data because it's about women and not men? Which kind of seems to be the case. You know, most medicine is only designed to treat men. It's not designed to treat women, which is one of the horrors of modern allopathic medicine in our society. In my case, I also needed to start taking testosterone after having an orchiectomy, and I've done a video on that. You can also see, link above. It was very helpful for me having a doctor who was an ally, because even though there was a specific transgender exclusion in my health insurance at the time, because this was before Obamacare, the American Affordable Care Act, which isn't really affordable, but thanks, Obama. At least it got me insurance at the time, and I was able to get bottom surgery under insurance because of it. So, thanks, Obama. Anyway, it's important to consider all of these things before you get started, and make sure that you're prepared for the changes. Hormones have wildly strong impacts on our mental states, on our bodies, and you have to be really cognizant of what the potential risks and dangers are, or just the potential for your own lifetime. Going through puberty for a second time is no fun, especially when you're an adult and you're expected to act like an adult and do an adult's job. For me, going through puberty again, like feeling like an 11-year-old girl while I was a project manager working for the state of Hawaii, was really difficult, and it was so hard to stay focused and on track because my brain was radically reconfiguring itself at the time. If you've gone through puberty once, you know how difficult it is, and going through it a second time is even more difficult. But if you didn't do it right the first time, do it again. I did. Talk to resources of other trans people if they have good recommendations. That can be helpful, but also sometimes they don't always know the right recommendations too, so do your own research on any doctor that's recommended to you to make sure they're the right fit for you. I don't think this is quite so much the case now, but back in the day when we were not so widely accepted, you would have to go to specific doctors to get your medication. And thankfully, that's becoming less and less the case. And now you can just go to any major medical center and find an endocrinologist that can work with you. But if you can find background that they actually work with trans people, do it. Perhaps there might be an LGBT organization that would have recommendation sheets. If they can't recommend anybody for legal reasons, then try to find people to talk to personally and see how that would help you. Really, be as informed as you can. Do as much research as you can so you know all of the potentials. It was a huge change for me, but I'm so glad I did it. And I want to encourage you to continue to see an endocrinologist routinely, frequently as you first start, but never stop going, really, because you always need to check in and see how things are going. Your body's change over time, and your needs will change over time as a result. All in all, I really hope if you decide to go on HRT, it's the right thing for you, and you've had all of the thought processes and mind games that are necessary to realize, like, I'm going to change my gender. That's going to have a radical impact on the world around me, how people treat me, and how I feel in the world. And it can be glorious, but it can also be very painful. So you need to be forewarned. With that, I love you. Aloha.